Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria White, and I'd like to welcome you to this beautiful, historic Busboys and Poets here in Shirlington. Tonight, we are having Meet the Candidate, and I can't think of a better day to do that with the Virginia primary going on today. So I hope we have an active audience tuned in online for this wonderful event. I'm going to introduce my panel members here, and then we're going to introduce the candidate that we're going to talk to tonight. So please welcome beside me, Ebenezer. Would you like to tell people a little something about yourself?
I can, yeah. What's going on, everybody? My name is Ebenezer, like she mentioned. Originally from Ethiopia, been in the DMV area for the past 4 years now. Excited to be here, excited to meet the candidate, Teddy, further, so happy to be here.
Hey everyone, my name is Alistair. I was born and raised in Arlington, and I'm going to be supporting Teddy in November, and I just have a couple questions, and hope that I can ask some questions that you obviously have at home.
Thank you, Alistair. So, as I said at the top of the show, my name is Maria White. I'm your hostess for tonight. I grew up actually in Charlottesville, Virginia. Not really from a political household. I didn't really get political per se until I got much older, and now I'm even older than that. So I'm very concerned about the hot topics of the day and actually about who makes it into office and who gets to make decisions on my behalf and my family's behalf. So I'm excited to be here tonight and do this event. So I don't want to waste any more time introducing our candidate for tonight. He is an independent candidate for Congress. He has a very inspiring story, and I really think he is a man for our times. So please welcome and virtually clap for Teddy Fikre.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not sure this microphone is working, but
Thank you. So, I just want to piggyback on what you said. The issues that matter to you, and everyone else here as well, they're the same issues that matter to me. And I think one of the things that really can help me run is because I feel as though the representation that we have in DC just does not represent us. It's very hard to know what it feels like to struggle with day-to-day issues, like trying to make ends meet on a day-to-day basis. We kind of live in a bubble. And that bubble in DC is no joke. It's a bunch of millionaires working for billionaires. They don't really know what it feels like. When the answer to a runaway gas crisis is get an electric car, that costs $50,000 plus, that's an indication of a government that just does not work for us anymore. So money has completely hijacked both political parties. And so to that end, the only hope that we have is to actually get one of us. And I say one of us, I'm talking about workers, small business owners, people that know what it feels like to wake up in the morning, to go to work and come back at home and not knowing whether or not, this life that's stable today can be replaced with instability and anxieties tomorrow with the paycheck stop coming in. That was not a theory for me. That actually happened to me in real life. 7 years ago, I went from working in Boozown, Hamilton, making six-figure income, to homelessness. I don't say these things as a source of shame. It's my testimony. But yet, knowing that we live in the richest country in America, and that almost everyone who's working 9 to 5 or who has a small business is really a couple of these paychecks away from utter disaster, that's exactly what the company to run. It should not happen. We could do better in America than living paycheck to paycheck. And then being told to go out there and buy electric cars when gas prices are more than $5. So that's one money, and I'm looking forward to having a discussion with you today.
Okay, Teddy, thank you for that lead-in. I think we'll jump into some questions and kind of put Teddy through it a little bit, because remember, we're here to represent you out there. So we want to ask the questions and get the answers that you want. I just met this gentleman today, but I already have heard you talk, and I know he has excellent political knowledge, probably a lot more than me, and he has great questions. So we're going to start off with Alistair's first question.
Thank you so much. So my question is, the 8th District is known for the military. We have Joint Base Fort Myers Henderson, a Marine Army base. We have the Pentagon, and it's now coming to light just how much of a revolving door it is, where generals go on to the defense industry, they rely on their network, which they made through their military career in order to secure contracts. And there have been several laws that have been proposed which would actually bar former high-ranking military generals from serving in the military-industrial complex. I wanted to get a sense from you, do you support these, and if you could draft a law, or better yet, wave a magic wand, what would your ideal post-military career for high-ranking officials be? Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I really care about because I'm obviously, my dad was a veteran, was in the Navy. I went with the military myself, and as a favorite habit, actually, I ended up working at the Pentagon in Fort Belvoir. And I also saw the opposite side of it. 2 years of homelessness, a lot of my friends that I made were veterans that were homeless. And so it's shocking to see those who go overseas, serve their country, come back, broken by wars, and become homeless. You get these at the upper echelon of the military, those who are able to access, trade access, really to enrich themselves. And that's the endemic of the military industrial complex, but really that's what government in DC has become, where public service is not a public service, it's about self-enrichment. So there needs to be a bright red line that requires, for example, a delay between how long you're in one position and being able to go into the private sector and making a fortune off that. I used to work with Hamilton, for example. I can't tell you how many high-ranking, generals or officers were able to pivot and go to defense consulting and make all kinds of money. So when you have this, there was a saying that when all you have is a hammer, everything becomes a nail, right? And so this is why we keep having wars all the time. The military industrial complex has become a trough that feeds me, while also impoverishing me at the same time. So we need to do more to take care of our veterans. We need to do more to actually, I'm all for the county defense, but this is not about defense. This is about enriching the Raytheons, the Boeings, and the Buzans of the world, and the Northrop Grumman's. So to that end, our military budget, if you combine almost 30 countries, it still exceeds all those combined. So this is not about defending America. This is not about patriotism. It's about profiteerism. So in the meantime, we have more and more people that are falling into homelessness. Poverty is going through the roof. Financial anxieties are just running amok. So yeah, we need to do more to ensure that it's literally what we have is graft, corruption, but it's codified. Is baked into the system. So there needs to be a cool-off period between the time you're in a position and you went to private sector and make millions of dollars off that. And we need to be able to ensure that more of the people that serve in the military, the rank and file, are actually benefiting instead of being left on the sidelines. So thank you for your question. I'm going to answer the question.
All right, thank you for that question and for that great answer. I'm going to hand the mic now over to Ebenezer and see what question you have.
Appreciate it. I actually want to touch a little bit on your experience. A lot of the times when we think of politicians, they're very unreachable. They're not able to understand what the regular people are going through. Like you said, you experienced homelessness. I think that makes you human to me. I feel like that's closer to me than the billionaires, right? So I want to know, what was it during your time when you were experiencing homelessness that sparked the interest in you to be able to fight for the regular people?
Sure. Yeah, I guess let me start off with this. In terms of provocation, I mean, my provocation is not just a sad story of homelessness. I went to George Mason undergrad, and then from Johns Hopkins, worked for close to 8 years at Hamilton, continued work as an IT project manager within the Department of Defense. So I have career experiences, with business consulting, delivering solutions that meet the problems of government. So if I'm able to go to DC, that's exactly my forte is. Being able to look at problems and actually present innovative solutions instead of just saying it can't be done. The mere fact that I'm running for Congress as an independent and have been able to qualify as essentially a one-man army is in fact one of my fortes, solutions, presenting solutions instead of just saying what cannot be done. But beyond that, one of the things that what you mentioned, I think beyond the competencies of acting that I bring to the table is the real life experiences that I've been through. Being a first generation immigrant, seeing my parents struggle to make ends meet, then, attaining the American dream. I've been told kind of routine. Although I knew what difficulties were, I never really knew like hardship because, I was able to kind of breeze through college, breeze through an MBA career. I finally kind of almost succeeded in that arena. But yet, it started 15, when everything kind of fell apart. To me, as hard as it was in that moment, it was one of the greatest blessings. Actually, I learned more doing homelessness than I did at any time at Johns Hopkins or at George Mason. So it taught me about the commonality of our pains, that differences are superfluous. Really, what matters about everything else, and all these divisions that are being erected in front of us, it's our common humanity. And I think that's what I would bring to the table when I'm in DC. So politics is effective with us versus them, us versus them. And as I mentioned at this speech on Friday on the road, it's not about us versus them. It's about us, all of us, the totality of us. These pressing issues that are before us cannot be solved by looking at our differences. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to economic uncertainties, when it comes to the fact that we're being indentured as human beings, that transcends our differences. And yet we're being conditioned every day to fight based on what sets us apart. And that works out greatly for the very few that have everything. It doesn't work for us. We essentially have become guys on barrel fighting over each other instead of actually working together with the barrel. So I think that's what I bring to the table. I don't vilify. I used to. There was a time where I used to criticize Republican voters. I used to collectively blame white people. 2 years of homelessness took that out of me. Because when you see brokenness on that level, that transcends our differences, you can't look at justice through the lens of our differences anymore. So what I would do is I would go to DC and I would not sit up here and say, these Republicans are doing this to you, or these people are doing that. So that's what they are doing. It's divide and conquer on steroids. I would go there to speak to our common man, and I think that's what's needed for everything at this time.
Thank you for that. Now it's on me. I have a couple of questions, but we're going to take turns. But I'm going to start with this one. As an independent, if you were to get elected into Congress, what methods or strategies would you use to try to pull together the Republican and Democrat parties? Because I think one of the most disenchanting things that we are aware of these days is all this infighting in Congress and how things can't get done because they're too busy opposing one another, even when there are agenda items that could benefit the constituencies of both parties. So how would you as an independent try to build bridges and bring those two parties together?
That's it.
Excellent question. So, I think first and foremost, as much as I can criticize Democrats and Republicans, everything I'm trying to get to this point of realizing that is no less versus them. Even when it comes to the very rich versus the rest, it's not, we all of us work together. So when you approach things with that level of humanity and realize, there was a time when I was in Luzon, for example, I was working Monday through Friday at military industrial complex, but yet on weekends I would protest against the Iraq war. We'll all be having become captive to this. And so if we have any hope of actually knowing where we become enmeshed as a society, is to kind of approach people not from a place of judgment. And realize a lot of people, Democrats in DC or Republicans in DC, have to play that game. The system is utterly broken. So when you approach them not from a place of vilification, but from a place of empathy almost, and from a place of humanity, maybe that can make a difference. But if that doesn't make a difference, I think what should be in DC is an alternative. As long as we only have two parties basically monopolizing power in DC, then there is no viable third option. If I'm able to get elected, then I will be on what's called a bully pulpit, right? I would be able to go to constituents and champion a different way. And when more and more people see that, they'll become attracted to it. It becomes like, Bobby Kennedy once said, the tiny ripple of hope. It starts with a ripple, and then it emanates outward. And so if there's someone in DC that's authentically speaking against the status quo and saying, no, this is a way we should do it, and trying to call us people. Like for me, one of my heroes is Fred Hampton, who he was trying to do. He was working across the social divides and working with what today's age would be called white supremacists. Sat down with them and convinced them that the plight of poor blacks and plight of poor whites are intertwined. And they accepted that premise. And there's a picture to this day of on one side a Confederate flag, on the other side a Black Panther Party flag. That to me is one of the most powerful images. Because people that were conditioned to hate each other, when they realize that we're actually in the same boat, that we can put aside our differences. If we overcome that level of intransigence, then anything is possible. And that level of unity cannot be ignored by either party. So that really is ultimately what we need in DC. It's someone that's willing to say enough of the status quo and aggressively make the case for unity. And right now we don't have that. There's not one voice in DC that's saying we need to unite across the social divide, because their jobs depend on them keeping us divided.
Thank you so much. I'm going to bounce it back to Alistair. Do you have another question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So my next question is, right now, the Democrats hold the slimmest majority, I think, in 50 years, about 5 seats. The midterm election looks like it's going to be a Republican victory, but it's not expected that the Republicans are going to be winning what's called a supermajority. Therefore, as an independent, you could play a very important time-making vote, or at least working with a coalition that you find. And that said, not all Congress people show up to vote, which is another thing. And they don't have to have all to have quorum. There's no law saying all have to show up. So you could be playing on some very issues. A lot of votes are 80%, 90%, but there's some that are party line, where you will have a big impact. Just give me a scenario. Who are you going to listen to? What's going to be your inspiration when you might have to cast a vote that's going to be really important? I'd like to know your thought process.
Sure.
Yeah, in a way, I'm not saying I'm going to emulate his belief systems, but his tactic is kind of to benefit the industry. But what Joe Manchin is doing in the Senate, for example, right? Unfortunately, he's doing something out of industry. So he's not moving for his constituents. But imagine if we had an independent voice who held out just like him and said, I'm not going to vote for anything unless you address the issues that matter to my constituents. And to me, my constituents, of course, are people who have been voters in the 8th Congressional District, but really it's all of us, right? What I refer to as the marginalized supermajority of Americans. People that have been left out in the cold, who are no longer being represented by our government. And that's all of us. Unless you happen to have Bezos money or Romney money, the rest of us, our votes just don't matter, right? We're being told that like these elections in our way have become a farce because the check of one billionaire vitiates the voices of 200 and some odd million Americans. So what I would do then is essentially, especially if it's a closely divided house, is hold up, and I'm not going to caucus with another party. I will caucus with one party if I need to, switch back and forth until we get what we need. And these issues that matter to me, whether it's, for example, if in 2008, banking CEOs were forgiven their debt. Not only were they forgiven debt, they were given even more money. Why can't that same method be applied to college students? When we forgive debt for billionaires, they take that money and they hoard it. When a college student's loan is forgiven, they end up taking that money that would be paid to, to the Salary Museum or to private events. We get reinvested back to local economies. So that's how we build America. Not to echo this one guy, but if you really want to know how you make America great, it's not by catering to multinational corporations. It's not about dividing people. It's not about being, a troll. It's actually by investing directly to people and to local communities. So when issues come up like that, I would just really hold out and then go to right in front of the camera and say, the reason I'm not voting for this is because they're not willing to do X, Y, or Z. And speak out forcefully. And not going to, Republicans not doing this with Democrats, both of them. It's a box in both houses. So that's what I would do.
Thank you.
You talking transparency, that would be refreshing, wouldn't it? Okay, we're gonna now go back to Ebenezer. You have another question?
Do.
Great.
So you've talked a lot about how this big two-party system is not really working for us regular people, right? And you've talked about millionaires working for billionaires. It's not really working for us. So I want to know, what are you going to do to ensure that you won't be corrupted by the opportunity to actually profit from this position going forward?
Well, the first thing is not taking corporate money. The more money you get from these corporations, it changes you, right? And the other part is just I signed a terminal pledge. I will not serve more than 3 minutes. My objective in life is not going to DC and becoming a church politician. And as much as possible is to remain here, right? In fact, I have every intention. I work full time as a master project manager. I drive Uber part time. I'm going to continue driving Uber, right? Because you need to have that connection with people. You go to DC, you go behind the doors of the Capitol, you get lost. It's the biggest bubble. And you have a bunch of, I don't know what to call it, single fans telling you how great you are, patting you on the back. You have lobbies coming up to you and telling you, hey, do this for me and we'll go on this junket. And I don't care who you are. That's the draw. That's a magnet that is hard to repel. So for me, as much as possible, is to remain rooted in the community, to remain humble and keep working instead of quitting my job and just feeding off taxpayers, and continue to disavow corporate money because that's really the trap. And limit myself in terms of how much time I'm going to spend in DC. And one of the things I really think about too, I have one of the things I keep on about. If cops wear body cameras, what if Congress people wear body cameras while they're working? So we know exactly, if they represent us, let us see exactly what's going on in our names. Because you talked about this earlier, sunlight, there's a bunch of backward bills that are being done. And there's, these bills that are being enacted. Most of the time, they don't even read it. They have no idea what they're signing for. So it's this level of secrecy. Well, there's secrecy, there's no democracy. It's a kleptocracy. So I think for me, one of the things I really look forward to when I get elected is to be a lot more transparent, be a lot more rooted amongst people that I represent, continue to work and limit my time in DC and be amongst my constituents.
And I think we should put a chip on them. Because they might turn the body cams off. And another thing from that conversation, the answer you just got, he drives Uber, everybody, so you can have your little mini meet the candidate session right there in the Uber. You get this man, ask him some questions. All right, my next question is going to be one of the big hot topics that's in the country right now. The overturn of Roe versus Wade, the woman's right to choose. Tell me where you stand on this particular subject and what type of legislation you would prefer to put forward if you were elected around that.
Thank you. So look, when a man starts having a baby, with me, he would have the ability to speak on these things. But even then, I believe in free will. I'm a person of faith. The God that I honor gives free will. So who am I to impose my will on anyone else? What I believe is that if women have more opportunities in life, the gap between the man and woman is lessened, more ability to take care of babies, then by the area, the number of abortions will go down. This idea that it's almost like there's some people that think that women are out there happy to have abortions, they're looking forward to it. That's a painful decision. I've yet to meet one woman that was like looking forward to having an abortion. This is one of, I know sometimes that having procedures are a gut-wrenching decision. A lot of times women make these decisions because they feel like they can't take care of it. So if there are someone on one side of the spectrum that want to focus on elimination, but that's almost a theory of taking people's choices away. Let's focus on getting at, I think, a rational middle, right? I think a lot of times in American politics, we're driven by the extremes. There's a rational middle that says, give a woman that option, the choice that they have over their bodies, but yet they work towards less than abortions, not by imposition, but by giving women more choices. So that's what
As they say on Family Feud, good answer. All right, Baxter, you have a third question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. My question is, so in terms of Congress and being someone that your constituents could, call their own and really make sure that they're being a representative. I mean, it's called the House of Representatives, not the House of Governors. I think that's for a reason. And would you, how would you make sure that you're reaching out to communities that don't speak predominantly English, like a lot of Latinos or Latinx rather in this district? I think also there's a pretty sizable Chinese and Mongol population. Would you rely on like town halls with translators, and how often are you thinking of reaching out and talking with people?
Sure.
That's a good question. No, being a first generation with me for myself, I know what it feels like to struggle to adapt. I didn't always learn to speak English this well, and I just remember how tough it was learning the language and trying to forget when I was a kid. So to that end, I think one of the big things I would do, of course, I can't speak every language, right? But representation matters. It's not just representation in terms of who gets elected, but the staff. So I would, as much as possible, I would like to make sure that the staff, people that are employed, have a diverse background. Again, you can't check all the boxes, and in the areas where there's not representation as a community member, it's of course to go to various communities and have translators available and to hear directly from those communities. And so that's one of the things I really look forward to. Even during this campaign season, it's been kind of tough as an independent candidate right now. There's not really a staff. I have to focus all my energies on gathering the signatures. But as the campaign season goes on, I really want to start going to these various communities and hearing from them. And that means having translators available, doing so, and make sure that their concerns are being met. So I believe that overall there's a national, right? There's issues that matter to all of us. There's also specific issues that matter to various communities. So I think I have to go. I will make it a point to go talk to as many communities as possible and make sure that we're still
Okay.
All right, awesome. We're gonna kick it back to Ebenezer. You have a third question?
I do.
Go for it.
I do want to give you a hypothetical question. If you had a grant for $1 million right now, what would you do with that, and why would you do that?
So, no, that's actually a very, so one of the things that really, that has left a big impact in my life is my experience in 2015, when I was doing the 2 years of homelessness. And I actually, in 2016, I stayed at this place called Homeless in Colorado. And this place is where people go to just basically get a rebuild. It's a farm, you live there for free, eat for free, and again, you work. Farm life is no joke. I was cooking, I was a chef. There's others that were taking care of the livestock. Others that were kind of taking care of the labor that's part of like up to maintenance and stuff like that. But what that does, working with your hands, it's really the most amazing thing, And that ability to kind of just focus on yourself, and instead of just focusing on, well, where's my next meal coming from? How am I gonna make it? For me, it's in my life right now. And so that's one of the things I want to do. And one of the things I want to do at some point in my life is to have, start a farm where people that are, struggling financially, dealing with any type of addiction issues, homeless, will be able to live there for a year, dedicate everything to themselves, pick up new skills, training, and then from there be able to pivot and then transition out into the real world. It's very hard. It's very easy to sit up here and say, get a job. But if you caught up in the cycle of poverty, it's impossible because now you know where to get the next meal, get a shower, take a shower, be able to even answer questions to what did you do for this past X amount of years. It's very difficult. And then you end up being an entry into homelessness. So being able to give a pathway out of homelessness and hopelessness, that's something I was really looking forward to.
Awesome. For my third question, I'd like to preface it by letting everyone know that I am the president of the Black Employees Council at Arlington County Government. And Teddy was kind enough to be our keynote speaker at our third annual Juneteenth Peace Rally last Friday. So being in the position that I'm in and just being who I am, issues that affect my people are very important to me. So for my third question, I want to ask you where you stand on having a racist agenda, on discrimination against our people, and particularly on police violence against Blacks, because I think that's a very relevant thing, not just to me, but for everyone.
So, this issue is something that I really care about to the point where when I launched my campaign back about two and a half months ago, I did so at the Brooklyn State Jail. I'm first generation immigrant from Ethiopia, so I can't necessarily know exactly the struggles of African Americans. I know how profound it is, and so I'm very hesitant to speak on these issues in terms of as if God's speaking to me, because pain that goes back to centuries, goes back to human beings being turned into chattel, and oppression and systematic racism. It's that type of pain is energy that transfers from generation to generation, and pain that's not been accounted for, atoned for, and lives on. When you have something, an infringement against you at a time, that hurts. But if that's never been absolved or resolved, that hurts even more. So imagine that over generations. So when it comes to the issue of racism, that's something that we need to pay big attention to, because the legacy of slavery lives on to this day. When you have millions of people, millions of African Americans that are stuck in generational poverty, where graduation is not necessarily from college to MBA, it's graduating from school to the streets, where there's rampant hopelessness that exists. The war had this idea that social deterrence attempted to arrest. Sadly, that the rest are being left behind. The advancement is being enjoyed by very few, the rest are struggling. And even the ones that are enjoying the advancement, there's still issues of racism that we have to contend with to this day. So for me, one of the things I really wanted is to express these issues in a way that doesn't vilify the other side, but shows that the pains of the least is the pains of the rest. So why it's relevant, the issues of African Americans are relevant to everyone else. Because as it happens to African Americans, like for example, the education that's happening in Old Town, with the low-income housing, people are not paying attention to that until it comes to you as well. Because the same thing that's squeezing that community is not squeezing everyone else. Unaffordable housing is now metastasizing, it's impacting everyone else. So these issues need to be addressed. The burdens of African Americans, it's almost like the canary in the coal mine. It ends up catching up to the society. And so what I want to do is to focus on a healing conversation about racism instead of a divisive conversation about racism. Even when it comes to the issue of cops. You know, there was a time I did not like cops at all. I'm just going to be on the spot. I was getting harassed for a very long time in high school. I felt like I was always, you know, a ridicule, a target of ridicule. But there was a time in 2015 where a cop came to my side and really, in ways I can't even describe, helped me out. So from that moment on, what I've done over the years is talk to a lot of cops. But what I realized is that, of course, there are always rotten apples, and then there are some that are silent when it comes to these issues. But the vast majority of us are actually, there's a humanity about us. But as long as we approach these issues and don't show that there's a bridge between the two communities, we won't get anywhere. So my objective is to take the legitimate angers and grievances of African Americans and present it in a way that can actually build a coalition, where the pains of African Americans matter too, because these are happening, and tie the pains together. Because I don't think it doesn't take away from the pains of African Americans to say that these things are tied into a broader pain of humanity. So that's my objective. I don't know if I answered the question on that front, but you know, it's you know, this is so. And one of the things I believe, you know, for me on a personal level, I'm from Ethiopia originally, like I said. When in the 1930s, African Americans came to the side of Ethiopia and you know, defended Ethiopia from Mussolini. And so there's always been a very close bond between Ethiopians and African Americans and African diaspora largely. And it's to kind of bridge the divide in that way. And but as we do that, it's to bridge the divide from the broader level and be inclusive of everyone. So that's my take.
Thank you. You gave me some meat there. So I think we're at the point where we'll go around. You guys have additional questions? There's one more in here?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do another round of questions here. We'll see if there's a question from the audience. And then we'll let you do a summary and then I'll close us out. So if you're watching, hang with us, okay? We're gonna go back to Alistair for another question.
Thank you so much. My final question is, in Congress, there are a lot of bills that, you know, they say die in committee. And this has to do with a lot of the party politics that we've been talking about. Because, for example, the Speaker of the House chooses which committees a bill goes to, but also can have an extended period of time on when, just to keep the bills on their desk, quote unquote. You're probably going to be presenting bills which are not going to please the two parties that much. And you're going to have to wait until you cause that groundswell momentum to really get them to their senses. How are you going to be able to negotiate and interact with people who are not going to play fair with you? And discuss like what would those conversations be like?
Well, you know, I entered into DC knowing that the system is not working for us as it is, right? All these back cleaning and you know, back deals, they don't work for us. We've been going backwards for the past, I don't know how many years. So if you start off with the premise that none of it was taking place in DC working for us, then going forward, what I would be able to do is present this case aggressively to the constituents. And just hope to eventually see a groundswell that will make it impossible for our business to be ignored. So yeah, I'm not in any way presenting magic once and I'm going to go tomorrow to DC and change things overnight. It doesn't. But you know, I'm not here like to present myself as Moses. Right? I'm actually running as one of us. So to that end, getting elected is just the beginning. It's not the end, because it requires an active participation by the electorate to demand better. All I will be able to do is go to DC and amplify that voice and be able to cater that message in a way that cannot be ignored. But still, the majority of the work has to be done on the ground. So that's really where the rubber meets the road. We need to demand better. And we need to stop falling into this left versus right, black versus white, Democrat versus Republican, and say, okay, what is in it for us as human, like as Americans, and demand better. And knowing that, when that saying about a rising tide lifts all boat, that rising tide is opportunity across the board. Because a lot of the social ills that we all care about from different parts of the communities, it's economic in nature. That's the root cause. So when we all understand that, and we approach these things from a common effort, that will become a possible saving point. So that's my hope and ability.
Okay, we're gonna go to the final question from Ebenezer. What you got?
Right now, we're just going through so much as a nation. We got jobs being lost. We have the stock market crashing. Housing prices are through the roof. Gas prices are really ridiculous. But I want to know specifically to Alexandria, what do you think is the biggest issue that's affecting Alexandria? And then two, what do you plan on doing about it?
Well, the biggest issue is economic in nature. This is economy. When gas is, you've already mentioned this, but you can't ignore this, right? When gas is $1 to $5, when it used to cost $100 to get a whole grocery cart down and get 4 or 5 bags out of it, even small things, the nickel and dime to that. We paid for the roads that we had to pay tolls to access to, will be double, they doubled it in our savings. So it's like this chipping away at our savings to the point now where the net savings of Americans, the average American, is zero. One bad development, we're in trouble. That's across the board. But secondary to that is also education. The main thing that I've been hearing throughout Alexandria, Arlington, South Fairfax is education. I think because there's such a high development in terms of drawing so many people, resources are not there, and that there's a reason for that. When you dedicate so much money towards the military industrial complex, towards enriching the very few at the cost of the rest of us, then you don't have enough resources to make sure that kids are being educated properly, or that the issues that, like for example, mental health within whether it's in elementary school, middle school, high school, it's just outrageous. It's a silent crisis. Every day there's over 3,700 students in high school that try to commit suicide in America. We don't pay attention to that, but we only care when there's a massacre. If there's a massacre that's taking place every day, we'll commit suicide. So, and a lot of these things, again, it goes back to the economy, but really it goes back to the fact that we have lost agency as a people, we've lost sovereignty as Americans, and we keep outsourcing our power to DC. We should build our communities, empower small businesses, and make sure that workers have the ability to actually take care and have a livable wage. Until we do that, then we kind of just shadow box ourselves.
All right, thank you for that answer. And let me just follow that with, we should not be making life decisions at the gas pump. Because that's what it feels like these days. If I fill up the car, what am I not going to be able to do because I had to fill up the car? It doesn't make sense. Okay, for my final question, I'm going to hit you with another hot topic. Earlier, we talked about abortion. And I never thought I would live in a world where I would see a bunch of people who want to tell a woman that she has to have a baby. But when that baby gets older, you don't want to protect it while it's in school from possibly being shot. So I'd like to know where you stand on gun control in this country and what type of policies would you try to push through to help the situation one way or the other.
So obviously this is something I care about as well because I have a 3-year-old son. But this is an issue that requires nuance. It's not a simple talking point. The law of even a sensible gun control yet. But at the same time, sometimes I get weary when these emergencies are being leveraged to take away people's rights. So that is a concern of mine. 9/11 happened. We were told, oh, we got to do the Patriot Act. Now we have no privacy, right? But yet the root cause of these things are being ignored. Like I said earlier, the epidemic of mental illness or mental unwellness, if you want to call it that, within kids. It's astounding. When I was growing up, to hear one person in high school having depression was unheard of. Maybe it just wasn't discussed back then. Maybe I'm pretty sure there was still a lot going on. But now it's like almost every kid that I run into is dealing with either anxiety, depression. And so we really had to ask ourselves the hard question about how is this happening? So when the food that we're giving them is toxic, information that they're consuming, the wanton graphic violence on TV, the normalizing of being abusive to women in entertainment, accepting outlandish behavior as a new norm, and then we get shocked when somebody goes out there who's 18 years old and does something horrific, or 16 years old. These are kids. So the question is, what is it that we're doing in society that is leading to this level of hopelessness that drives so many kids to try to commit suicide, so many kids to try to commit homicides. It becomes flashy when it's on TV. But that same day, when the horrific massacre and violence took place, there's an 18-year-old that got stabbed to death here in Alexandria, not too far from here, right out in Kingston. I think it's Kingstown, I want to say this. So that doesn't make headlines. And the level of fighting this thing, it's like graphic fighting, So we need to really have an honest conversation. And part of it requires that we make hard decisions as parents, where everything can be done through legislation. I understand it's hard. Look, I can sit up here and preach all the garden about don't give kids smartphones, for example, but when you're being stressed at work, both parents are working hard, and you come home, sometimes it's hard not to let's say, watch TV, But yet, we really have to think through the ramifications. We really need to think twice about whether or not kids should even have access to smartphones. And as adults, as addicted to us, imagine what it's doing for kids. So again, we can always revert to the easy talking points, which is exactly what both Democratic parties are doing. It's not even to fix anything. It's just to keep us perpetual state of paralysis. We really need to have a broader conversation. And of course, talk about sensible gun control, but beyond that, other aspects of it, because we keep hacking at the symptom, not really addressing the disease.
Thank you for that. Next, we will check and see if anyone in our audience has a question. Anyone? Don't be shy. You look like you have a question. Do you have a question? Yes, you. Okay, can you come closer? Nice outfit, by the way. Thank you. What question do you have for Teddy?
Okay, Teddy. From what I've been able to hear thus far, you're very smart, wisdom, articulate, you look the part. What sets you apart, like if you could put it in a sentence, what sets you apart from the colleagues that you are running against?
Great question.
Thank you for asking that question. I think the main thing for me is the lived experiences. Now, I don't say this to be gratuitous or to any way be negative about it. It's just a statement of fact. My opponent, I'm pretty sure he's going to be winning today. Don Meyer inherited a vast fortune from his dad. More power to you if you can do it. He went on to then multiply his fortunes through Obama's Carson Clinton's scheme of 2009. Well, I guess if you can do it, But the question is, how does that represent us? When the vast majority of us are living paycheck to paycheck, I have a pretty good job. It's not like I'm struggling over here. I'm an IT project manager. At the time, you should be living the American dream. But yet, even people that are making six figures these days are living paycheck to paycheck. That is the new norm. So I guess the question is, do we want someone that's worth $124 million plus, who inherited his money from his dad, or someone that actually worked his way through college, currently working 2 jobs, driving Uber, knows what it feels like. When I pump the gas, I pump that gas in myself. I'm not really driven around. When I when I go bush shopping, I'm not. When I see the price of milk, somebody once asked, I think it was George, how much is the price of milk? And he couldn't answer. I noticed. It's like, now it's $45 for $5 milk, and depending on which one it is. If you get the organic one versus the inorganic, forget that, So these are the real life experiences I can bring to the table. From too many, the average net worth of congressional folks is over close to 7 figures. How does that, when the founders of this country, when they envision a Congress that's supposed to represent us, those must be people that go to work, that work full time and go to Congress part time. Now we have full time politicians who are living the high life, making a lot of money off of taxpayer money, off of our backs, that do not necessarily represent our struggles. And so if somebody does not know what it feels like to walk in our shoes, they cannot. Bill Clinton said, "I feel your pain." I don't have to feel your pain. I know your struggles. So that I think is something.
All right, relatability is important. Thank you for your question. Anyone else in the audience have a question? Sir, do you have a question? You look like you're sitting on something. Don't be shy, come on up. You can come back here. What's your question for the candidate?
How you doing, Ted? This is Nick. I just thought of this question as you were speaking. You talked about walking in someone's shoes or walking in your shoes in particular. Currently, if I walked in your shoes, man, I feel like I'm with a dedicated, loyal, if I was walking in your shoes now, dedicated, loyal, not a lot of hot air, but someone, if you were to capitalize on your thoughts and ambitions at the present time, and became who you want to be in the future, the next election, the following election after that, 10 years down the road, if I was walking in your shoes, what would be the difference between now and then?
That was a juicy one. There you go.
Of course, life is continuous evolution. I'm not going to be the same person I am now. I would like to think I would have more wisdom. One of the things I really pray to God about every day is to stop thinking about past versus now. Because I really believe that humanity, in totality, we're the same people. And to approach things, even for people that hurt other people, with a sense of humanity about us, or about me, And so to that end, one of the things I still kind of struggle with is when somebody does something that's hurtful. It's very human to sit up here and to push back. I would want to be a lot more forgiving and to be a lot more patient, even with people that might be there, try to hurt, say hurtful things. Because it's Martin Luther King once said that anger cannot drive out anger, darkness cannot drive out darkness, but you love to do that. And forgiveness is the highest form of humanity is to forgive. But it's hard to forgive in the moment. And so for me, what I would, as I get, as I would say older, as I become more experienced in life, it's more seasoned, is to really, is to reach in more of my spirituality and to kind of understand that people are hurting across the board. And that people think might do something that you perceive to be against you, they're not really coming against you. They're fighting their own demons. And for me to be a lot more patient with people and to approach it from the deep sense of empathy, even when it's something that's not being reflected back to us. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes.
But bottom line is, would you be wearing Stetsons
Okay.
or would you be wearing Yeezys?
No, yeah. I will promise you this. I will not have any. My intention is not to go to DC become a political insider. For me, I've always looked at life from the underdog perspective. I never wanted to be at the very top. I think for me, what I really found to even though it's hard, what I find to be so gratifying almost, not gratifying, but a blessing. Hardship is a blessing. You just don't know what that means. When I was going through the 2 years of homelessness, I learned a lot about humanity. And I stood with the most marginalized people at that time. That was the type of purpose I was lacking when I was making a lot of money in Hamilton and trying to climb the ladder. The more money I was making, the more I felt empty on this side. But yet, there in the streets of South Carolina, in Colorado, in Iowa, calling neighbors, people that are homeless, and helping each other out, and just having that I don't know, the most vulnerable aspect of humanity present before me. That's something I will never forget. That is deeply embedded in me. When I go to DC, is to make sure that those people have become voiceless, have a voice in check in DC.
Okay, thanks again for your question, sir. And now we're going to give Teddy his closing remarks, and then I'll come back after him and close us out for tonight. And Teddy, I think we'll have you close out by answering this final question for the people. Why you?
Thank you. That was an excellent closing question. Why me? It's simple. Because I'm angry. I think I represent the everyday person. We have been left out of the picture. We've been muted by money. We've been our democracy, republic has been hijacked by special interests. And every day, the approval rating in Congress is 18%. Joe Biden's approval rating is solid 36%. Nobody's happy. But yet, this political system has been so great to protect incumbents and to monopolize by both political parties that we don't have an option. So democracy with limited options is not good democracy. It's a false choice. So what I wanted to do is present real life experiences that can draw people across the political spectrum, across the social spectrum. Because I would never say I can point fingers and say they're doing this to me. I don't believe in that. That's just not in me. It might have been in me a long time ago, or without knowing it, but I'm not there anymore. What I strive for above anything else is to speak to our common humanity. So to that end, that's exactly what I mean. I can't think of one political person in DC who's doing it. It's not one. They all go there, they fall in line, fall in love with institutions, they point fingers and say they're doing this to me. And that's on purpose, that's by design. That's how you break societies, you divide them based on really on artificial boundaries, and then the conditions fight each other. I'm willing to say no to all of that and actually stand up for common interests. So I think that's what I'm able to do forcefully. But up to this point, and I made this at this point, I made this directed to voters in Virginia and even beyond, because it could affect decisions that are being made here, whether they're in Virginia, California, Texas, and beyond. To get plugged in. Initially, my dad told me a long time ago, nothing is open. Nothing. You have to work for everything. That's exactly what I did. I went up there and gathered over 1,500 signatures, set up the account with the FEC, follow papers with the original elections department. That's something that was my challenge. But now I've done that. I've None would seem to be that possible for a person to effectively run a political campaign on his own. But now that's why I pivot to what does it say, get involved. If we really want to make this happen, I can't do this alone. It has to be a collective effort that transcends our differences. So if you're tired of the status quo, don't go to the status quo. I'm presenting I don't say radical, but kind of a radical departure that's actually not radical at all. Because what I'm speaking to you about is the very essence of what's needed the most. It's about empathy and love. In fact, my last name, Fikre, means my love in heart. So we can go with love, or we can go with a fire, I guess. I don't know if that's, I don't, but that's, I say that jokingly, but that's exactly what the distinction is. We have a Congress that's basically bought out as being, buyers are putting their highest bids and buying politicians, or we go someone that's actually talking about love and really willing to work hard to affect change across this political spectrum and fight for inclusive change. So to that end, if you're interested in the campaign, you can go to Fikre, it's FIKRE, number4VA.com. Send us an email, info@Fikre, number4VA.com, and get involved. One of the things I really want to encourage is, I learned a lot about Obama campaign. They have precinct captains, but we can have like love captains, something like that, where people in different neighborhoods make this campaign yours. We don't have to wait for billionaires to pluck out politicians out of obscurity, only so that those politicians can be indebted to them. We're going to empower people that are running for Congress. And if we do that, if you give $2 here, $10 here, $20 here, I'm not going to be indebted to any one person. And beyond that, it's not beyond money. It's about just investing time into the campaign, spreading the message. And like Bobby Kennedy said, it starts with a ripple. I just need people to start throwing stones into the ocean, and that ripple will become a wave that cannot be ignored.
All right, yes, let's get some claps behind that. All right, on behalf of Ebenezer and Alistair and our audience here at Busboys and Poets here in Shirlington, and Teddy and the Fikre campaign, we thank you for taking time out of your day to join us to meet the candidate. As it just stated, if you want to contact the campaign, you can reach out to them, and the campaign is fikre4va.com. Have a great evening, take care, and please remember, your vote is your voice. God bless.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
When's this gonna be rebroadcast?
This actually is, hold on. Give me 1 second. This is actually what's being